Good morning. I thought I was going to have a morning off coming down to the Monterey coast, but clearly not. We couldn't sleep in this morning. It's interesting what you just said about success, because when we were invited to come and speak, it was, well, what does success really mean? So for the last week, I've been really thinking about it. So all I can really share with you is my story, the way it happened for me. Happy goats. It started with 6 goats almost 27 years ago. I worked for Jacob's Farm, and I met a woman over the phone, and I sold some of their first organic tomatoes that came up from Mexico, the Del Cabo tomatoes. They were dried. And she had goats in Davenport, Nancy Gaffney, and she was milking them and making some cheese. And she bought these dried tomatoes from me to put in one of her cheeses, and came up to our house one day and said, "Wow, what a great place. Why don't you buy some goats from me and you can, you know, milk them and I'll make the cheese." I'm like, "Oh, okay, that sounds great." Little did I know, right? Our farm was built by 2 brothers from Portugal back in 1910. It was originally built as a cow dairy farm, and was operated as such until the late 30s, when a lot of the big cow dairies started emerging in the Central Valley. So a lot of the small family homesteads started to close on the coast. So what was some of the coast sides' largest agricultural income, the milk that was produced, just fell apart. And now today, we are the only dairy in San Mateo County. Our herd has grown to almost 200 goats. They're all related to the original 6. We're now entering our season, the beginning of our year, the beginning of our rhythm. And it all starts with our disgusting male goat who stinks and smells repulsive. But when the fall comes and the aroma drifts through the air and around our space, it's the beginning of what we look forward to. Which are the babies. The babies will begin arriving in a couple of weeks. So right now, it's the calm before the storm. We look forward to 300 babies to be born on our farm this year. The first ones are always cute, and then they're not cute anymore. This is Justin and Chloe, young people born and raised in Pescadero, which is a small village. We encourage the young people to come and have a real experience on our farm. And this is a very real, on-the-ground experience that they've done for many years. They're now all off at college and having their own lives. They learned a lot from working with us. This was always their prize. As the babies grow up, the ones that we keep move into bigger pastures, always with enough space. A truck full of babies. When the babies arrive, people arrive at our farm. We do tours, and it's become part of people's tradition to come and play with them, which they can and do. So we have kids with kids, families, adults. They just sit on benches and stare at them for hours. I'm going to start putting people like that to work. Once the babies come out, then the milk starts arriving, and we turn on the milking machine, and the rhythm of the farm begins. This is me looking happy, but I'm not usually happy when I'm milking the goats. It's a big job, and it happens every day. You have to have the right people in the right place. When we start milking the goats, we're still looking after the babies and feeding them, so it's a lot of work. It's very intense. We're cleaning nipples all day long. So they're clean and safe to drink the mother's milk that we give back to them. As they grow, then we introduce grass and hay and a special pellet that we have made for them. Their early years are so important, so then when they're older, they're healthy. Roberto, who's worked with me for 21 years, who I worked with at Jacob's Farm and stole him. He's a goat whisperer. It takes a special person to work with the animals. You can't buy his experience. He's part of our family. Friends and family are an enormous asset and a huge part of our success. David, along with our son Ben, who are both almost 25, has been raised on the farm and is now moving into success of his own. Tony from England, who comes from the small village where my parents live, made Tony's pen for the little babies for people to see as they visit. And then I always get to have a little special animal whenever I want. I'm a farmer, I'm allowed, right? This is Rosie the donkey, who knows how to pull the lever up underneath the silos and let feed out because she's so greedy. Predators, when we have babies out in the country, want to come and eat them. We've taken steps with protecting them. We rarely have problems. The llama herds the goats, and our new Anatolian shepherds protect them. We have $53 a week in dog feed bills. It's a write-off. You can't have too many of those. This is another picture of me looking really happy when I'm probably not. The thermometer is a recording of the pasteurization in the dairy after we've got all the milk from the goats and after the babies have stopped drinking it all. Our compliance is becoming horrific. The permits that we have to pay for, adhere to, and apply for, and report to are becoming suffocating. It is a reality and a part of our farming world, and seemingly is only getting worse. The hands of the cheesemakers. Salud, Roberto's wife, again 20 years. Her effort and work, commitment, consistency to the basic, the simple, is why, partly why we are successful. Devoted to the process every day. The milk comes in, the milk is pasteurized, and the cheese is made in traditional methods, in bags that Salud sews herself. The hands mix in the gold. The ingredients are imperative to put with the simple flavors that we create from the farm. We grow as many things as we can, the chive log being one of my favorites, so simple the flavor of this particular cheese, the ricotta, is the place where the farm is. It's its relationship to the ocean, just 2 miles away. That salty air comes in. It goes into the ground through the fog. The goats eat the grass, and it presents itself in the flavor. If we moved our goats to Sacramento, it would taste very different. We have our own, as they say in the wine world, terroir. People like eating our cheese. They gobble it up. In 2008, when the economy crashed, our business went through the roof. People were very displaced. They didn't know what to do with their lives. They'd lost their jobs and the life that they knew. And we were just 50 minutes away from San Francisco and Silicon Valley, where it just was so interrupted. And they came to our place because it made them feel good. They saw the babies, or they saw the goats, they tasted the cheese. It was very simple, it was very fundamental. And from that, it just built the real word of mouth, like actually people talking to people. But then Facebook started coming, and then that all happened, and it just evolved into where we were selling our cheese on trucks and airplanes and distributors and wholesalers and in all the Whole Foods across the country, to where we now sell 95% of everything we make directly from our goat shop. The people come to us, and they can make their choice whether they spend nothing or they spend $100. Our cheese has won national awards. We won a gold medal in the World Cheese Award a couple of years ago, beating the French. It makes me feel warm when I say that. It just never gets old, ever. Our barn, the original hay barn, the lower half is the dairy. Where the light in the window is our goat shop. And above is a beautiful room with a table that was made from by my friend Three Finger Bill, that was the centerpiece of a pine tree that was causing a log jam in our creek. And we hauled it out in the El Nino flood, and that became the table. We have diversified income now, which allows the farm to stay small and good. So people come to our farm once a month. They sign up for farm dinners. We do events, and we do small weddings. We were lucky enough, or brave enough, to buy the next door neighbor's property 9 years ago, and we're now looking to the future. And the way we're funding some of that is by doing small weddings, where people get married in our secret garden by the creek and then enjoy a real farm dinner on a real farm. When we talk about farm to table, I'll quite often say, this is a farm and this is a table. That is farm to table. 5 years ago, applied for a grant through the RCD, the NRCS, which is federal funding that comes down through the state, and then to people like myself who are doing some interesting water conservation, because of course it's liquid gold. We knew that 10 years ago, and we did a lot about it. I was successful in writing a grant and being fully funded to put an irrigation pond in, and brand new irrigation, which is happening right now. Lots of pipe going underneath the ground. We're replacing the roof of this barn that is 135 years old. We're investing in the future. We're constantly innovating, and we need time to do that. But our base camp is always the goats. So when I think of success, I can look at that picture. It's what gets me up every day when it's really difficult, because it is. It makes the hard easy, and it's worth it. Thank you.